All right. Today we are talking with Jeremy the artist, a caricature artist based in Austin, Texas. Hey, Jeremy the artist. How are you,
Hey,
sir?
how's pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Really can't complain.
Uh,
Thank you for joining me here today.
yeah, sorry that it's taken a couple of attempts to try to get this going, but I appreciate you. I love the background as well.
Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to ask you right off the bat, how long have you been doing caricatures?
Um, I've been doing caricatures now off and on for about 15 years, I think. I started in um May, June 2010 and pretty consistently throughout. I kind of took a big break from live caricature from 2020 to the start of 2024. I did about a 1 gig a year. Throughout all that time, though, I've always have done like studies and studio work. But yeah, but live caricature and caricature in general, about 15 years.
Wow. So you took a hiatus, but you're back doing live caricature now?
Yeah, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a thing. I wasn't sure I was going to get back to it. It was really funny because I joined the International Society of Caricature Artists, ISCA, back in I think 2020, and then I was on the board for a minute. And when I was on the board and just kind of being part of ISCA, that kind of helped me refine that motivation to do live work because I saw so many amazing artists and saw the examples that they were bringing in the portfolios of their live caricature work, and that kind of re-inspired me. So I had a gig in the beginning of 2024 where I just kind of told myself, well, this is kind of the trial, and let's see how I feel. And I kind of compare caricaturing, especially live caricaturing, to we're the stand-up comedians of the illustrator world, as far as like how we react and how we to deal with things. As far as like if a gig goes really south, I watch a lot of stand-up comedy and listen to a lot of podcasts. But if a stand-up comedian has a bad set, he just doubles down into what he's doing. So I feel like with caricaturing, it's kind of the same thing when you're at a gig and for some reason the clientele is going just sideways as far as them not reacting well to what you're doing. You double down in what you're doing, because if they're not because if they're not liking what you're doing anyways, there's going to be people that like caricature and there's going to be people that don't, and the people that don't, you're not really going to convince them if you do like a cute couture, or you do anything to help alleviate what you think would alleviate whatever stress or their dissatisfaction with the thing. So you might as well just enjoy the gig. And so that's what happened to me. I had like the worst gig I've had in a long time, where it was just 2 hours of dissatisfaction, just a bunch of people like, huh, is that what that is? I think I had two good reactions in 2 hours, but going through it, I enjoyed the entire process. And I was like, oh, I still can do this. And that kind of like opened the gateway to like, well, let me start taking more gigs again. And yeah.
So was this in Austin? That's where you're
Yeah, this
based?
was Yeah, this was in Austin. I mainly do gigs here in Austin where I live, and then some of the surrounding areas. So like San Antonio and Round Rock, a bunch of areas that are about an hour and a half, hour away. I got lucky this year with one of the companies that contracts me. They flew me and a couple other characters out to Baton Rouge, Louisiana to do a gig, and
Wow,
that was really cool. Yeah, I've never been in my career like hired out to another state, and then they pay for it. They paid for the company that hired all of us. They paid for the hotel, the flights, everything. They flew us all in a day before the gig, and then the gig was only 2 hours, which is insane. Yeah, and then it was the same thing. So like we flew in the night before to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We went to New Orleans and checked that out, and then we had the gig the next day, and on the same day we flew back to Austin,
that's
and
awesome.
yeah, it was wonderful. They paid the rate, they paid for all the things. I was very, very ecstatic. But other than that, yeah, usually I just caricature within my area.
And in the area, do people book you, or do you try to attend? Do you go to events, amusement parks? Like what's the standard for you?
Standard for me, at this point in my career is more corporate gigs, which has been
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Um, Initially, when I started 15 years ago, I was doing like vendor markets, just around town, wherever I could like, and I was trying to sort out and figure out the whole art of caricaturing. Like in college, I was an editorial cartoonist, and at one point they asked me to caricature because I do editorial cartoons, and that was my only exposure to caricaturing. And I just kind of at that point just kind of figured it out on my own. But yeah, it's progressed to more corporate events now, so different kinds of parties or tech company stuff. More recently, I met a couple other caricaturists that were traveling through town, and it was and working with them, they invited me out to a couple events in the last few months, and I finally did like some county fairs, which was really cool. I went to Belfast in Northern Ireland in November,
Wow.
and worked holiday markets there with with my friends for 3 weeks. And so that I got so after like 14 years, I'm never working county fairs or anything like that. It's within the last year that I got that super exposure to all of it, just working, 10-hour days, 11-hour days, one after the other, and just kind of just knocking them out. So, but yeah, other than that, most of my experience is corporate events, and then the occasional wedding.
Wow. Well, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a nice it's been nice working the spectrum of the kind of gigs you can get. So, I mean, I also had a gig like 8, 9 years ago where it was one of the I didn't work I didn't work kids parties after this particular incident for a long time, where I showed up to this it was some kid's like sixth birthday or something like that, and I came over and they're like, yeah, we got tables and chairs. They didn't have chairs, they had a haystack. They had a haystack for me to sit on. So I sat on a haystack outside next to the petting zoo, and I just worked in the hot sun during the summer here in Texas, where it was like 100 degrees. It was something horrible, and I just after that I was like, I'm not going to work kids parties for a while. I do now, but we just make sure there's a stipulation: no haystacks.
Yeah, yeah. It can get a little uncomfortable after a while.
Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say too, some of my favorite work that I've been seeing from you lately are these pinup caricatures that you're doing. It's like a combination of things that I don't often see. I've
Oh,
seen some of your posts on the Instagram, I believe.
yes,
So
yes,
you
yes.
do a lot of different kinds of work besides
Yes.
just caricature.
Oh yeah, yeah. I appreciate that a lot, actually. I really thank you. It's something I'm trying to explore a bit more. Um, yeah, I love. I'm a big believer in exploring as far as you can, as wide as you can, and just push forward, and then coming back with all the stuff you learned, and then kind of figuring out what do you want to do with that mix of things you just learned about. And so, for a long time, I've always been interested in well, yeah, pinups and doing horror. I love doing horror stuff, and then
Oh yeah.
caricature. And I've been trying to find, and for a while, every artist goes to this as far as figuring out what their style is, if there's a specific one style. And I realized some of my favorite artists, like Mobius, the French artist, and there's a few other comic artists I like, and then there's some other characters I like. But I realized a lot of the people that I like, they diversify as far as their styles and what they do, and depending on the project, one project they'll play jazz, another project they'll play rock and roll, but you can recognize their style in whatever genre they go in, because they have a particular signature way they do their shape. Well, with artists, their shapes and whatever and have you. And so learning that now as I get older, I'm trying to figure out different ways to combine these different loves. So like even years ago when I first got into caricature, and I started doing more studio caricature and reading others and studying other caricaturists, I kind of took the theory of caricature and the theory of exaggeration and have been learning different ways to apply it to my other art forms. The different relationships that you have in your shape language, dynamics, how to and also taking what I learned from other things and putting into caricature, contrast,
Mhm.
lighting, How do you tell a story? Like I was an editorial cartoonist in college, so how do you tell taking stuff I learned from that, and how do you tell the story within a caricature? Like how do you make the narration? Like if your eye reads from the top left of the screen of the drawing of the composition to the bottom right, how do you keep it interesting? What kind of like tricks you can do? What kind of kinetic energy can you carry through the whole thing? So like, yeah, yeah, caricature has done so much for me, and it's kind of really found its way into all the other stuff I do.
Wow. I don't know if you'd be set up to do it on your end or not, but
Mhm.
if you shared screen, do you have a website or someplace you can pull up so we can see some images and talk through them?
Let me.
If not, no big deal, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me get off the thing really quick. I think over here. Is it working?
it is.
Lovely.
This is
Cool.
great.
Hurrah. Let's see here. So like some of the pinup stuff. Well, if you have something you want me to talk through, let me know. And I'll do
Let's
that.
talk about let's talk about we can start with the pinups
Okay.
since we were just talking about those. I mean, they're fantastic.
Yeah, I felt really happy with this image that I did. It was based I follow like a lot of burlesque performers, and I go to a lot of burlesque shows. And actually a friend of mine who's a burlesque performer and singer, she was talking about how is it burlesque? I'm gonna get it wrong entirely. But basically like burlesque shows they implement caricature like very much so. Like there's a direct relation between
I
burlesque
see it. Yeah.
and caricature and the acts and the way they perform the energy, and so I kind of noted that when I went, and trying to figure out how to capture that and utilize that, where I love drawing pinup but also love drawing a little bit of humor. So I'm going through a newer thing where I find like candid pictures of burlesque performers laughing, and I just happened to find this, and I was like, that's great because I can push on the face, but then I can like play around with how I utilize the body and the composition and the shapes and all that. And so I was pretty happy with this, and try and explore different ways to like minimize like the torso and pull out the legs a little bit more. And then I'm kind of playing around with changing the way I do my shapes, where I do stricter straight lines, like where I have on the hips, and I pull them out and have really big contrast where the rib cage is kind of like pushed in, not like a normal human would have, and like just and pushing out to make the silhouette more interesting. But yeah, it's just me exploring and finding that combo and seeing if I want to keep utilizing that and what else I can do with it.
I'd like to see another example of some of your interesting explorations into form and caricature. Just
Yeah. Let's see here. Well, I can talk about. I'll do one more. Well, let's see right here. This is a good one too. I found this picture of this bodybuilder that I follow, and he was just flexing, and I was like, "Oh, that's a beautiful picture to play with." And so, same thing here, exploring anatomy, dynamic anatomy, and then just pushing caricaturing a bit of it. Like I didn't really being at the focal point of this picture, or what I wanted the audience to focus on was that how he's spreading his back into his arms. I really wanted that to be a lot of fun, and I didn't want to really focus on the face too much. So I did like a light caricature on the face, but I really wanted to take the composition and really control it as far as where I want the audience's eyes to go first, and then second and third. So I really pushed the back, I really pushed the arms, and I accidentally, and actually initially it wasn't the intention to make the arms so different in size. But in the initial sketch, I had done it without realizing it, and I just decided to keep it because I thought it kept it more fun. You know,
yeah,
instead of making symmetrical, just really push one versus the other, and then just kind of play around with the lighting on it. But yeah, I was really happy with how the back turned out, and then his leg doing the little on the calf, trying to utilize or figure out how to do those muscles was an interesting struggle. And then when you're drawing a foot and really trying to detail a foot, like what part is the padding, and how do you like get away with with making a nice looking foot and while detailing it without over detailing it. And so this was a fun this was a fun exploration. I do try, and this was one of those, and the other one was another one as well, where they're kind of like my morning warm up sketches,
Mhm.
where I have a big rule with myself to daily draw a little bit for myself. If I have like commissions or stuff I'm going to work on, I'll work on those later, like in the day. But at first and foremost, I need to do something for myself that reminds me why I'm even doing this in the first place. I need to remind myself every day of the love I have for this craft and my dedication to the arts. So most of the stuff I post, I mean, this wasn't. This is my friends Stieglitz and Marcio, who has Messy Fields, which is an amazing show on YouTube. But Stieglitz is in Germany, Marcio is in Italy, and they're amazing caricaturists, and now have a YouTube show that's kind of like a podcasty thing. But this took me like 2 or 3 days to work on, and I just kept chopping it up, or working little by little, figuring out the initial sketches and how I kind of wanted to play with it. And then I retraced the logo for them on the top right hand corner. But and then I have stuff like this caricature, which I submitted for an ISCA Facebook contest, and this also a lot of these biweekly contests held on Facebook. I'll spend several days like figuring out the composition, playing with the little thumbnails, and then just chopping away. Usually for me, especially with these like the contest stuff, I try to pull away from using so much line, and I'll try to do more color stuff like this, more painterly stuff. Because for my own work, I still don't consider myself. I mean, I always think in line. Like when I
Mhm.
did like this, skull study, like line for me is second nature as far as like how I can see everything I need to do and want to do. So like, ink, especially inking my hands, is one of my most favorite things, and it's very therapeutic. I don't do it as often as I need to, and I'm kind of in the middle of getting back to it. Um, but
But it's clear you can do both. You can move into painterly when you need to and go back to line.
Oh, I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, it's been a journey, and and that's why I tell a lot of friends and people that are a lot of other artist friends is like I I'm a hands-on learner, and I feel like a lot of us are, and like for me, just diving in without any clue, and then kind of sort myself out there from there has worked, and of course, like looking at like colorists and painters that I admire, and like, okay, what do I like from this guy's piece? What do I like from that other guy's, techniques that he does with painting, and just incorporate it in my own. Like this, I try to like, I initially sketched it, and then like, and this is based off of Earth's World. Let me see if I had it over here somewhere, or is this? There it is. Earth's World's a great like source of references of just far as pictures. This wonderful photographer, and I think his name's actually Earth, but like just giant, vast collection of wonderful pictures. I think
Wow.
Paul Moyes, I think is his name. I mispronounced it probably. And then like there's a couple other like Tom Fluharty. There's a few characters that were really renowned characters that were utilizing his pictures, and the rest of us were like, oh, we got to do it. But you know that was this year where I was trying a different style, more not I don't want to say Pixar, but more cartoony, from different decision making than I normally do, and so I like to do that a lot. Where I instead of like the stuff that's default in my brain, what new things can I teach it, and does it serve me, and do I like where it ended up, and like, or sometimes it's just worth it just to do it, just to say I just stretched in a different way. But yeah, yeah. Trying to find some other stuff. This was fun. I got third place in this last contest. This was a guy, and this is the piece I did on him. And like, there was a lot of like for me, the answer on his. I don't know if I can pull it here a little bit, but there's a lot of obvious choices that I could have made with his face, and that a lot of people went with. And the kind of, and I will say like the ISCA Facebook contest where people are submitting drawings of the same person. There is some strategy I now utilize. Like I try not to and what have you, but like you can't help but look. But when people submit early, you can kind of tell where people are gonna go with it. And this guy. objectively speaking, like this guy seems very nice and very cool, and he commented all the pictures and all that. But objectively speaking, as soon as we saw the face, all the characters like were looking at the teeth on the either end of his mouth, and we're like everybody just went for it. Like my friend Svetlana, she got second place. She made like him into for like a walrus. There was other people that did like vampire stuff, and so I've also learned for me that sometimes the first answer isn't the best answer. Sometimes it's the third answer, the fourth answer. So my brain initially went to these other ways, but I was like, okay, well that's cool. What's the next thing that comes to mind? Well, okay, and that's cool. What about another thing? And I'll kind of work that way. And sometimes it is too far, and sometimes the easier thing to do is to go what your gut told you the first time. But I was pretty happy. I think this was like decision number three that I went with. And I had no real clue where I was going to go with it. I just kind of knew I wanted to take his teeth, those two big fang teeth, and like play with them where I kept the shape, but I utilized them differently. And so the color scheme came out of nowhere because initially I was going to color him like color and flesh color. But I realized for the purposes of this, and that's a big thing for me too. Is like, what's the purpose of this thing I'm going to create? Is it to scare people? Is it to make a joke? Is it to make a some kind of social commentary? What's the point? And that kind of helps change my decisions. So I realized if I did a flesh colored version of this, it'd be too scary. So like I was like, I want people to like it, and I want it to be weird and kind of gross and weird looking, but I don't want to be so off-putting that people don't look at it. I want people to look at it and kind of be enamored by the colors, and then layer it up to where they see the caricature, but the caricature is not the first thing they see. They kind of have to take it as face value and then kind of process it. But I need it to be in nicer colors and somewhat cartoony and somewhat quote unquote cute to for people to do that. And but a lot of those decisions, like I said, there was the initial thoughts, and then it's just going into it and kind of diving deep into it, and then figuring out those other answers for it. So yeah, this has helped me explore paints, and it's helped me explore like what I want to do with composition and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that piece. So
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the color choices there too. It creates a very interesting visual language, and the effect is almost like it becomes a mask. You don't look at it as like the same you do like a lot of the flesh colored characters, and I can totally see where, yeah, if you had chosen flesh tones, it would be a completely different effect.
oh, but most
Very
entirely.
interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, and then it was the also wrestling, and then when deciding the palette, I realized like especially with my work, some work lends itself to more vibrant, lighter color palettes, and some other work lends itself to darker palettes. And I realized with the ways, at least in when I'm doing caricature, the way I do my line work, the brighter, more vibrant color palettes are the way to go, or at least they're the answers I found that have worked for me. And and so the initial idea too was like maybe I do the inner colors of this guy he was going to be orange, yellow, what have you. But I decided to inverse it because I thought it'd be a more interesting choice. Because naturally, a lot of people what you're going to do is you're going to put the light in the middle, right? So
Hmm.
so light is warmer colors. So if you do orange, yellows, reds, you can put that in the center. You're going to put the cool colors, the blues, the purples, and all that in the background. But I thought if I can pop it the other way and figure out some ways to play within the cool colors and it would be even more interesting to play. And I added some, warm colors with the pinks and such. But yeah, that was fun to explain. Thank you for listening to
Yeah, of
that.
course.
Let me see here. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, if there's anything that stands out to you, please let me know.
I've had my eye on this. Is that a hyena in the center there?
Oh, this guy. Um, he is a jaguar, I believe. I think he's a jaguar. Yeah, he's a jaguar. Um, there's a very specific, and you would have no idea. There's a guy, there's another artist, and I can't remember his name. Otherwise, I would shout him out. But he did this amazing, like bipedal humanoid hyena, and it's been stuck in my head for like a week. And I keep like, I want to do something similar, but now I can't draw a hyena because he drew
No.
that hyena. So I drew, and I think this might have been one of the answers I had when I did this a little while ago. It was this jaguar, and yeah, this was just I love drawing animals, but I've been trying to figure out, stuff I post and how to utilize it for like my own like quote unquote branding because I'm kind of working on it, but I'm not working on it, and just trying to figure out what that middle, what the in between is as far as an answer. And so
Right.
that's what this is like. Okay, I'm gonna draw an animal, but maybe I do some like creature design, and it's very light creature design. It's more arguably I would say like graphic design because I just added two horns to the guy. There's nothing else real like for me. Like he has the row of spikes and the horns, but it was more in the play of how I'm going to texturize it and ink it and play around to where it looks like a feasible thing. And I try to do that more in my work where it's again that like the storytelling. Like you don't know what this is, but I'm going to make it interesting enough in the way I lay out the colors and the way the posing and all that to where it could be a thing that exists in some universe in somebody's story.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was fine, and yeah, I've done nothing else with him. It's just this guy is a singular drawing. It exists. I'm happy it exists, and then I I got it out of my system, which is probably my problem in the bane of my existence of why my career could be more successful if I just didn't go. I'm done. Like I needed to like create a little bit more in the whatever. But that's I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, like I did this tiger drawing, more portraity, more natural looking. Same thing where I was trying to well not same thing but playing around the composition and trying to make it more visually interesting with taking my ink pens and brushing out the background a little bit and then my red pencil giving it some vibrant scribble energy.
Yeah, I was
uh,
gonna ask you what you used for this one.
Yeah, I usually utilize like where's my I have my brush pen somewhere around here. I've been buying the same brush pens for years now. For like the last 20 years. What is your name? This is pen. Oh yeah, it's like a Pentel. It's a Pentel brush pen, but like Pentel brush pen along with there's another there's a Japanese brush pen that I used for the big the dark black big dark areas in the background where it's easy where I can like squeeze the ink through the brush and it just comes
Oh
out in
yeah.
nice big blots and that's kind of my when I need to darken giant areas. It's one of the pens that I use, and I forgot exactly what brand it is, but I
Is it
usually use.
maybe Copics or something? I know those are popular, but
Oh, Copics are amazing. No, this is it's a very particular pen. I'll have to find it later, and maybe I can message you about it. But it's let me see. I'm looking. I have a thing of pens on the right of me. I'm trying to see if I have it, and I do not have it on me right now. But yeah, it's one of these pens that you yeah, you can squeeze it, and the ink will come out a little bit more fiercely, depending on. You don't have to squeeze it, but when it does, it just juts out a bunch of ink. And so, if I do traditional work, I usually have that baby on me, my brush pen. I might have. I use these Tombow.
oh
Tombow is the
yeah,
brand.
Tombos.
You know Tombow? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I love Tombow brush pens. Those are another thing that I always keep in my little tool set. Um, so I think this guy was a little bit of the brush pen, and I think a little bit of the Tombow for the thinner black lines, and then the other guy to get the blacks out there. And then yeah, some just regular red pencils that I have to color it up just a little bit to give her something. But yeah, I really love exploring, and I'm trying to do it more. Where I have several sketchbooks I keep on
Oh
me
wow.
now. Oh, thank you. Where I just keep. Yeah, there's my Tombow. You can see on this corner. There's a
Oh, I
Tombow
see.
and the red pencil. That stupid that's the silly trend where you have your pencil and your pen. Like, look what I use. I do it. I do it every so often. Um, but yeah, playing around. Hitomi Ishihara. She's an amazing caricaturist in Japan. She does these caricatures where she utilizes uh, different pencils and such to do her like sketch work. And so I really am. So with these, I was very inspired because I think she uses like blues and reds, but I had the red pencil and my inks. And so I was at a coffee shop. And it was actually a kind of it was a particularly weird coffee shop in the sense of the only seating that was available was at the end of the bar, but the bar is this like U-shaped thing where the baristas were actually making the drinks and getting customers. So I was sitting on one end and I was drawing these people, but when they're waiting for drinks, they would actually come to my end of the U to wait for their drinks. And I was like, oh no, this was a horrible decision to draw people on the other side I can see because they're coming this way. So it was it got a little tricky. The girl in the red cap almost caught me. I had to like throw my phone next to her drawing so she didn't see me drawing her. I've been drawing people in coffee shops for off and on, yeah, for a long time. I haven't been caught yet. I've been very close.
Wow.
So, but yeah, exploring shapes and having fun and trying different answers for like the eyes over here on the girl with the cap, and just playing around, seeing what information I can grab and just experiment with. Let's see here. Well, I'll show you this. This is more non-caricature, but this is based off a friend of mine. She's actually a performer here, a belly dancer, burlesque performer. My friend Devin Allfather. She posed for some reference photos, like I think like a couple years back. So I had initially done a sketch of this a couple years back, based off these reference photos that we took, and it was a drawing that just kind of sat around, and I was very happy with the drawing. It was kind of what's the word? It's like a harpy base, basically, like the wings, and I played around with
Okay.
the feet, making them more like giant bird talons, and giving her like a scorpion tail and such. And just kind of playing with fantastical stuff. I mean, again, this is in that realm of just like me. Okay, well, I want to do pinup, but can we make it more horror based, like a horror pinup? Can we make it fantastical? Let's see what we do. And I love this kind of like a lot of like moodier, more gothic based, like fantastic fantasy paintings. They kind of use this color palette of like these greens and browns and reds. And I really wanted to, and then having the main figure like more of these palish, wider colors. And so I wanted to play around with that idea particularly. So this was just an ink drawing. And I drew it, yeah, probably like 3 years ago, something like that. And then in the last year, I decided to revisit it. And then, I mean, it's all digital painted, but I was really happy in how it turned out. As far as like, I really, really was hoping to do something dynamic with the lighting, because again, it was initially just an ink drawing where I didn't really put hatching or anything to indicate any kind of lighting. So, and then when we took the reference pictures, the lighting was definitely not this way. So, I envisioned it and played around with it, and was happy with the end result of it. So, um, but this was a lot of fun in exploring just style and pushing myself in a different direction, and seeing where it can go. And so I'm hoping to do a little bit more work in this style, especially as we get closer to Halloween, which is my favorite holiday in the entire world. So you'll be seeing there'll
Same
be a
here.
lot. There'll definitely be more stuff like this coming up very, very soon.
That's
Um,
great. It's got like a little bit of a Frank Frazetta vibe.
oh, thank you. I
Yeah, it's
appreciate that.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody loves Frazetta. And that's the whole thing. Like
absolutely.
with Frazetta, there's another artist named Basil Gogos. Gogos?
Hmm.
Gogos. I think he's this amazing kind of the same idea of Frazetta, where his color palettes are very bright. He did the famous monster paintings. I think they're from the 60s or 70s, but there's a whole thing where yeah, if you automatically think of it like some Frazetta like monster poster, it's I'm pretty sure it's Basil Gogos. Like
I'm gonna look that up.
yeah, Basil like basil, and then Gogos, Gogos, and yeah, but they both played to this idea with more vibrant color palettes, and then they would have these like, I mean, Frazetta, such like dynamic darks and shadows on his figures, and then the reds and stuff that he would pull for the background. There was just so much energy, so much fierce energy coming out of their pieces, and so trying to figure that out, and how to do it where you don't need to we can utilize these reds and stuff as lighting, and how to push your piece. Yeah, I love that so much, and so I strive to do that with more of my work like that, and that's something I actually tell myself a lot, because a lot of these pieces here, like, these are fun. Like, this took me probably like no, this took me a longer part of the day. This was probably like 3 or 4 hours. There was a day where I was supposed to work on other things, and it was this day that I was like, I want to do a warm up drawing. I did this, and I was like, I want to do a little bit more, and then 4 hours passed, and so That's kind of how my life goes. But like this versus this, I was pretty happy with that. And but these are, I would say, like the intention's different of these pieces versus the other one versus the other one's supposed to
Right.
be more serious, so the lighting's different, the color palette's entirely different. These I'm having more fun, so even the way I push the body, you know this girl, obviously she wasn't purple, the model that I drew this is based off of, but again is me exploring, and actually I was pretty uncomfortable playing with this color palette, and that made me more comfortable and like, okay, this is the answer. I just want to, let's go full this way and see what the result is, because I think the actual girl, like the actual what she's wearing, it's like leather, it's all black leather, and so when I
Okay.
decided to go a whole different color, rebalancing it changed the whole balance, and it changed the entire picture of what it was based off of. So, but it was fun to play with and explore. So, but yeah, different answers for different, or for different solutions for different pieces. And it's something I'm always thinking about whenever I'm taking a minute to draw something for fun or what have you.
It's very difficult when you have so many different kinds of influences that you want to pull from, and you do this a little bit, do that a little bit. But what a lot of people tell me in the arts is after a few years, eventually, suddenly, it all kind of comes together in some unexpected way. And
Yeah, that's
I
it.
feel like we're
I like
seeing
that idea.
traces of that kind of in your work. Things are kind of starting to congeal.
I
to
pre
tell you,
You you never know when you're gonna get the validation you need, and that gave me some verbal validation that I very much appreciate. So
oh,
thank you very much. Sincerely, like, and I agree with that entirely, because like even the like this is like a perfect example of me playing around, and it's just a dumb zombie face, but it's utilizing caricature, and then what I know of, like, I can't really draw realistically, or it takes me a lot of effort, but like I like the blend of it. It works just enough with like how I'm controlling my line weight, and I'm drawing in mass, like you're thinking in mass. When you was That was something I read from like a constructive anatomy book years ago. When you draw in line, think in mass, and like how
mm,
round something is, and that kind of subconsciously, like, tapers your line a bit or makes it heavier when you're doing like the under part of an arm or something. And so playing with those relationships and figuring out how to put it all together, has been something that I've been working on probably for, yeah, 15, 20 years. And so it is an amazing thing, especially now. Like, I'm 39, and so like I feel like I'm finally, like, I remember in my 20s thinking like, oh, I like you there's the longer you do something creative, the way it's really funny how your perspective changes on it. Like, you really, if you're going to be in the arts, anything creative, you really have to do it for the love of the arts, not for this thing of like, I'm going to sell so many books or be booked for so many things. I'm going to work on the next Mona Lisa and get paid millions of dollars and be a famous YouTuber. You can't do it for that. You do it for that, you'll never reach it. You have to do it for the love of the thing, and you do it for the love of the thing. There's this weird manifesting that happens through just doing the work and like having it out there. I'm a big, big, big believer, and it helps my anxiety too. Is a phrase I can't remember even where I read it or who said it to me, but a watched pot never boils. You can't like, and I say that to
yeah.
myself almost every day. Like, you can't, like, okay, when am I gonna get famous next? What's the next big thing? You just have to. You really have to just strive in like in pursuing your passion and what you're doing, and just do work in it. Like, like a handful of years ago, one of the biggest things that happened in my life was I got a random email from a bunch of from a producer in Los Angeles, and the email was for if I wanted to audition for them in drawing puppets and designing some puppets for them for a TV show called Let's Be Real, which was created or co-created, I believe, by Robert Smigel, who is the creator of Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. He was also a writer
Wow.
for Conan O'Brien, also a writer for The Simpsons, but he created this puppet sketch show, and the head puppet designer who worked on the TV special, he couldn't work on the TV series that was then
Mm,
being produced. So when they asked like if he knows anybody he would recommend, he is a follower on my Instagram. or
Nice.
and he doesn't even like officially follows me. He just follows me from afar because I was like, where is he? Like I tried because I didn't know until like deep in the audition where they were like, "Do you want to know how we found you?" Yes, yes, I want to know how you found me. And like, but that being said, so I made stuff for a TV show, and I made more money than whatever in any contract that I ever have had in like 2 months' time, and I got that simply by because he loved my caricature work. So just posting every day or posting as much as possible, it got the. You never know who's going to look at your work.
That's true.
Now the watch pot never boils really comes to play here because I keep like part of me is like, when's the next person going to like see my work and hire me for another TV show? And you can't do that, you know. But it was such a validating moment because for years, you know, I've had Instagram. I mean, for forever now, probably for like 14 years or so, and that's the only time that's ever come. But it was such a big moment to have and such a key thing that I'm very lucky to have done just from do posting for the love of posting my art of doing showing what I've been working on versus trying to like push for celebrity attention or anything like that.
That is huge. Yeah, congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you. That was a really really nice moment.
Well, of course, I was gonna have to ask you again to put you on the spot. Would you be able to do a caricature for us during this interview session? I don't know
Sure.
if you're set up for it because I know you do work digital, but also it sounds like you do use some physical media as well. I don't know what your preference would be.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the best way that would let's sort this out. The phone that I currently have Zoom on is set up on a weird sucker here. Let me see. I actually have my iPad next to me, so I could let's see if I can do it that way. Give me 2 seconds here.
All right,
Let's let's
and we'll also, I guess, I can send you an image and you can caricature the face,
okay.
and then. But I was also thinking, what might be the best way to do that? I could always send it through the chat.
Oh, right, right. Let's try that. That works.
Okay.
Sure. Let me go back here. Okay.
All right, sending it now.
Share. There we go. All right, learning things, doing things. This has stopped you to. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. Great picture. Let's see if I can take a picture of that, and then let's see if I can. Here, I got the idea now. There.
Awesome. Yeah, this way you can really walk us through.
Yeah, I'm so glad that coincidentally it was all just like right there. All right, let's see. And where's my drawing glove? There we are. All
Now
right.
that's something you don't hear talked about very often is a drawing glove. Does
Oh
this help
man.
you not accidentally smudge?
Yeah, so the drawing glove
Okay.
is this situation. For digital work, but digital, yeah, the with the especially with the iPad versus any other type of tablet, uh if it will accidentally take these fingers sometimes as reading on the screen.
Okay.
And so you have to it helps to avoid that. And then also I may actually start wearing a drawing glove for gigs because and I have a couple other friends that do that now where they do drawing gloves for gigs because you'll smudge with the Crayola sometimes depending on like if especially if it's like
Mm.
hot or something and depending on the paper. So I have a handful of characters friends that do it. So I'm gonna be drawing this picture over here. It's a great picture.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I had to send the very best.
Yeah. Let's see here. We'll do let's just do it in black. Now I'm trying to figure out let's just do it this way. Just be nice and loose. All right. Especially drawing digital here. Let's see here. I can cheat a little bit. All right. We'll do the eyes. But there's a pencil brush that I'm using right now that I really, really love. This Tilt Sketcher Soft and a chromograph, and I can't remember where I bought it, but it's a nice soft pencil, and it's one of my favorite things to use when I'm like drafting work.
Wow.
gives a nice pencil vibe. Having the correct um pencil feel, it's so important digitally, uh, to make something that replicates as close as possible what an actual pencil feels like. Um,
I'm sure that takes a lot of work to find, but you feel like you've
man,
got it now, huh?
yeah, I got this one and I got one other, but I've spent I don't know how much money on so many. I have like over 100 brushes or something like that.
Yeah, they get
And
expensive.
oh yeah, they get pricey. And especially when I first got the iPad, it was definitely like overexcitement. Because for a long time, I mean, I've been doing digital work um, for a bit of time now, but like I was doing like the Wacom bamboo and all
Oh
kinds of
yeah.
yeah, all kinds of other stuff where it wasn't like this where you're drawing directly on the screen. And drawing directly on the screen, I got so excited because I was, oh, this changes the relationship you have. Because and then, but then you start getting all excited with all the accessories you can get, because there's like this like screen protector you can put that's a little rougher because it has the texture, it has the tooth of paper, so you can have that. Anything to help, like, oh, this feels like I'm actually sketching in a sketchbook or something like that. And so there's all kinds of stuff that you can do for that, and then all kinds of brushes, like this feels like more like oil paints than these oil paints, or this feels like more like pencil than these other five pencils that you bought. And it's
Where
yeah,
does it end? You know?
it never ends. It's really, you just hope that you find the right correct thing that works for you. um so I'm taking a different initially. I was When you asked me right now, I was like, well, maybe I'll do like a live approach, but I think what I'm doing is I'm actually going to walk through what I would do, like if I'm doing a study caricature. And so this is kind of what I'm like. I saw the picture and I saw some of the answers. I'm like, oh, these are some of the things I can play with. And I think for caricaturing, I don't know if it was Tom Richmond, the Mad Magazine artist, famed caricaturist,
He
that
wrote a
said it.
great book on caricature.
I need to read that book. I follow him on so many things. I got to meet him briefly in person. Um, but yeah, I love what he does, and some of the philosophy I've heard from him is it's very wise words. Like anything I can listen to him on or what have you. So I need to read that. But there's always with caricature. There's three, like, when you look at someone's face, there's one thing you're going to caricature the most, another thing you're going to caricature like somewhere in the medium, and then one thing you're going to caricature the least. And it's usually like in that order, like three things. And so when you look at a face, you kind of see what pops out to you first. What does your eye pick up first? And so usually you follow your gut that way. And if like for me, when I looked at this picture, I was like, oh, he's doing a bug-eyed expression, and he has this great expression with his mouth, and there's a tilt. But now I'm like, what can I do to help push those expressions, and push on these things to help even add more to the humor of what you're like. I mean, my favorite thing is drawing from like silly faces. Sometimes I'll ask, like on Facebook, I'll ask friends to send me, hey, post a silly picture in the comments, and I'll draw from it.
So you've
Because
probably got a massive collection of like your friends basically gurning for you.
I have so many weird. If anyone looked through my phone and saw like all the weird faces I have, just from random people, because then on my Facebook, I have like I have fans and followers, and I also have family. So, and then there'll be fans from like 10 years ago, and they'll just randomly like, oh, free drawing, and then they'll throw comment a picture. I'm like, who's that again? And had to like, oh, is that dude that I met at a gig 7 years ago? Okay. And so that's pretty fun. But yeah, especially when COVID first hit, that was the I ended up doing a caricature book that was a collection of daily drawings from like 2020 to 2022. And so part of that thing in the pandemic, in 2020 and 2021, I worked for an animation studio for this show called Undone. It's on Amazon Prime. Really amazing show. But we because it was the year of COVID, we all worked from home like all year long on this animation on a TV production schedule, which was crazy now thinking about it. But all year, I mean, I was just home. There was the quarantine period of time and all that. So part of that, to help, I wanted to you know, help people and stuff was like, well, maybe I can just do silly drawings. So and that kind of started me like maybe like once a week, once every 2 weeks, like, hey, post your silly picture here. And then I drew so many of them initially. And there was so many people volunteering it too. I would have like 20 pictures of people like sticking out their tongues or making some weird face. And I was like, this is great, but also kind of weird, but also really great. Like, so.
Everybody loves a silly face.
Oh yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing, and it helped me a lot too, like watching people too that normally would never do that, and then just see them posting some silly picture was really so fun, and really helped me through that period of time too. Drawing has always been something I can rely on for everything. I draw when I'm sad, I draw when I'm happy, I draw when I'm anxious. It's just something that gets me through. So especially in that period of time, I was happy that I could, put something on the web that gave people even like momentary joy. And then along with that, I have a bunch of silly pictures of friends that now I don't know what I'm gonna do with. Whenever I lose my memory in another 40 years, and like I'm like, where are these pictures from? It's gonna be a random weird thing. So I am pushing the face a bit more. I'm taking the eyes, I'm pushing them more to the sides over here. There's another caricaturist I follow. I think it's AJ Jensen, who's amazing. I think he's based in Georgia, and he has a whole bunch of YouTube videos are really good. And I forgot exactly. I think they're Tune Heads. Tune Heads, I think, is the name of the channel.
Tune heads. Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with that, I think.
Yeah, AJ is amazing, amazing characterist. But he has a bunch of character like he's been knocking him out over the last 5 or 6 months. These YouTube videos about how to for caricature and just a bunch of tips for professional caricature artists or even amateur artists. Part of that is one of his things. Well, like, well, if you're gonna when you have eyes and you're trying to figure out how to push them, either push them to where they're both dead center or push them on either side of the skull. And so I've been utilizing that a little bit more. So you kind of gauge like from the pictures you're using, like, okay, well, what do you want to do with it? Because how far do I push it? So usually now one of the answers I have especially when I'm doing live work is if I see someone's eyes and they're slightly more apart, then I'll just push them on the other side of their head. Or if they're kind of close, then I just push them all the way close because it's really neat because initially when you're doing it, and I feel like this is something that happens to a lot of people that do portrait art and caricature art, is like initially when you're doing it, it feels wrong or doesn't feel like it's going to look like the thing. But like if you push further than you're comfortable with, a lot of the times it actually is closer to the answer you're looking for. And that is also in portrait work. I had a conversation with some portrait artists recently where we were talking about that, where they thought they were exaggerating, like, whatever, when they were drawing people, and then they realized, oh, what I think is exaggerating is actually helping me hit the nail on the head and getting closer to what it actually looks like, which is a very interesting, like, mental thing. Um,
It is a
and it,
very strange thing, yeah. Like, and I heard uh John Singer Sargent used to do that a little bit. He would exaggerate on purpose in his
yeah,
portraits.
yeah, no, there's a weird thing. Jason Seiler does it too, I believe, when he does like portrait work. Famed caricaturist, realistic caricature stuff that he does. But yeah, there's a weird thing with it. So it's always this thing of kind of making yourself slightly uncomfortable in how in what you're doing with your work and your approach to the work, and that kind of then helps you like level up a little bit. So every time I do live gigs, I really try to be conscious of that, especially like if it's a good vibe, because not every caricature, sadly, can be like a top winner that you want to post and all that, especially in a live gig. If I do like 3 hours worth of work, I know at least a handful of those. I'm just happy they're done and they're not in my not in my hand anymore. Um, but some others will be great, and a lot of those that lend themselves to that greatness are like it depends on the energy you're that's being exchanged with the person you're drawing. Because if someone comes and they're really nervous, which is understandable and all that, you run through that at every single gig. that's entirely fine. But if you have someone that's already there in a and ready to like have fun and like is there joking with you and making you feel comfortable as well, and you're not putting all the energy into making a person comfortable, and you're just there actually enjoying your work, you can really then take some chances and really push on exploring that drawing. And I really live for those. And that's a big thing that I feel like is like not said as much in the business, especially like everybody that's trying to do more social media stuff. Is that you're going to run into that so often, where like not every drawing is going to be a winner, not every drawing is going to be you pushing to the 10th degree of what a caricature can be. Uh, but that's part that's part of the business of it. Um, it's very interesting, and that's also what the fun is with gigs, that you don't get all the energy that you like. I've had gigs where every single one, like every person that has come through, they're just amazing. The reaction's amazing. There was this one little weird gig I had like midday at a tech company. I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, where it was like a gig from like noon to 2, which already is a weird hours. Most of us are nocturnal people, so
Yeah.
I really am not I'm really not a fan. I'll take them, but I'm not a fan of like doing morning gigs or like afternoon gigs. Like I know I'm not going to be 100 like me at like 110%. I'm going to have caffeine and I'm gonna do my best thing, but I know preferably this is not where I want to be. So I wasn't expecting much like at a nooner at a tech company, but every single person that like came out to be drawn were like amazing people, and the reactions they had to their work, they were so grateful and so happy with the whole thing. And I was able to pull off some sillier work because of it, because I could play with them and have fun with it. Versus some other gigs where, like, I'll have some reactions that are good, but most of it's just like, okay, we're just gonna get through it, and just get it done. It might be people that are not as familiar with the art of caricature. It might just be there's other things going on, a whole slew of different reasons. But at some point, you're just like, okay, this is all right, but let's get this done. How much time do we have going into this, or left, and what have you? So.
So at its best, really, caricature can be like a very social thing. I mean,
Oh,
it almost at its best, there is that social dimension that makes the work better.
oh,
That's
mo
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, most definitely. It's I didn't think about it till years into it, but it's very much a performance art.
Yeah, I
Um,
can see that.
there's a lot of things. It's funny, like years ago, my father. And it's funny when I like now when I think about the story and all that, I was like, I don't know where he got this. My dad's just really good at storytelling, but he had this whole thing. He's like, when elevators were first created, people got really impatient about how long they took to pick up people and stuff. And it wasn't until they put mirrors on the inside of the elevators and on the sides of the elevators when you're waiting, when you press the button, that people started liking them more. Because then you press the button, you're waiting for the elevator, but now you're looking at your hair, and if your hair is okay, if the clothes you're wearing look all right, and you're distracted by the mirrors. So by the time the elevator comes down, or you're in the elevator and you're writing it, it didn't take any time at all because you got preoccupied. And it's like the same idea I realized, like when you get a haircut, which is always a thing, like the stylist, the barber is like talking to you. So how's your Saturday going? And they're talking about whatever because they want your mind off of the thing that you're doing. And I realized that years ago, if I utilize that while I caricature, because not every character talks, and I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I try to read the person, and sometimes there's gigs where I don't talk much, and I'll just we'll go through it, especially if there's music playing. But a lot of the times, I'll kind of walk them through the experience, especially like if they're nervous, and so I'll kind of do more of, like you said, the social aspect of it. Like, and I also, and I'll have fun with that because a lot of times, a lot of those personalities, they'll ask you the same like 5 questions. How long have you been drawing? Is this your full-time career? And then they'll say like, they'll say the same thing. So I'll take those questions and oh, I've been doing this forever. But what about you? Have you ever drawn? And I'll like reverse it and I'll get them to talk about themselves. And then and then we can find together a more interesting thing to talk about that actually gets your mind off me drawing them, because they're searching for it, and I can tell they're searching for it, something to distract themselves. So yeah, working in caricature really especially doing live gigs, it really helps you become more empathetic, and you can read people a lot better, and you have a little more intuition as far as like I know as soon as someone comes to get drawn, within like as soon as like yeah, within 10 seconds I can tell you, you know, what kind of personality they are, and I can make guesses as to what the approach will be for them. Like if, you know, there's like sometimes like if there's like couples, and like if it's like, you know, these partners, if it's like a guy and a girl, sometimes the typical thing is like the guy's doing it because the girl wants the drawing, so the guy's kind of like this stern personality who won't talk, and he's kind of giving you side eye, and he's kind of folding his arms, while the girl's like, oh, I've always wanted one of these, and I've told George that I wanted it this time, and so we made some time to come over here. And so you have to learn how to like engage not only with her but with George, who's being quiet and mad, and you have to like, you know, distract him and get him engaged in the whole experience of it. And so that's what it is really, because most people I've realized only get like 1 to 3, most normal people only get 1 to 3 caricatures in their lifetime. It's been a weird and that's from my personal experience. I'm kind of gauging those numbers because a lot of times when I draw people, if I draw someone that's older, say like in their 60s, 50s, somewhere there, they'll be like, "Oh, I've been drawn one other time, like in my 20s or something." And then you kind of and you find that out. Then you draw someone that's a kid as their first drawing, or you draw someone in like their 20s, 30s as their second time being drawn. And that's really it. You know, usually caricatures are reserved for like the wedding or the special family reunion event, something that's not of the norm. You know, I like to think of caricaturists, especially these events. I like to think of myself as an element to their day. You know, like at a wedding, they got that one silly drawing. They don't remember the conversation, but they remember having fun in getting drawn. So part of that fun is, you know, getting them through the experience of the character. And I say all this, and I also have my bad days where where I'm also like just drawing and I'm not talking. So you know, I'd also want to make sure that I'm pretty real. That it doesn't always happen, but this is what I strive for. You know, every time I go and do live characters, to give the best of me and make sure that you're having um, amazing experience being drawn by me. Because that also helps in the situations where they don't like the drawings as much, because they're like, oh, he's such a nice guy, and they're like, and I can see them walking away contemplating the drawing, but you know, it got me through. So
Saying that, do you think caricature is something that's really a what's the word I'm looking for? Something that's a special treat, like a one-time thing, once, two times, three times in a lifetime kind of thing, or do you wish that there were more repeat visitors? Are there people who you also see multiple times, like they just can't get enough?
yeah, I have a lot of friends that work like the county fairs annually, and they work the same circuit of county fairs. And they'll report like, you know, same people coming to revisit them for like an annual caricature. And so there are like caricature collectors, and those people are very, very fun because, you know, especially any environment you're going in, you're kind of like and that's like county fairs, that's a corporate gig. You're kind of like taking the first couple caricatures, and you're kind of from those making it like you're gauging what the rest of the experience is going to be. And so you're kind of like, and I mean, I'm not speaking for everybody, but for me, you know, I have to like then kind of get myself comfortable and figure out how exaggerated I'm going to go with stuff. If I do like a corporate gig, I tend to do like more cute drawings. If I do something like at a county fair, I tend to like just, you know, a corporate gig. I'm already being paid hourly. Like I have a contract, and I have like, you know, being paid for like 3 or 4 hours at a a county fair. I'm getting paid per head. And ironically, because I'm being paid per head, you would think that I would actually care and be more safe, but I don't care as much. Like if it goes bad, it goes bad. I'm trying not to make it a bad thing, but I also want to explore and have fun. And so that's usually when I let myself have more fun creating, is those types of environments. But yeah, you're hoping to run into caricature collectors, and like I've run into them at county fairs where I'm working a gig for some other caricaturists, and they're like, "Oh, we were here last year. Last year we got a caricature by that guy," you know, And when you have collectors, you know then that you can then explore and push. You're not nearly as afraid. All your all your inhibitions are gone because you know that they've already gotten, you know, some caricatures, and they're here for more. They love the art of it. And so I love people that can really just celebrate the art of caricature, because I feel like a lot of people, like the normal person, I mean, we all have like our own self-esteem issues and issues like, you know, maybe the way we see ourselves and all that. But you know, all same thing as caricatures. We're all human, you know. Like I have days where I'm like, ah, I don't look as good as I did yesterday, or whatever. We all, you know, all those typical things that everybody goes through. But the thing about caricature, and it was another caricaturist friend of mine, Eric Roadfelt, I believe, said it. Great caricaturist. I think he's based in Minnesota. But he said something one on like a social media post at one point about like how caricature is the celebration of the unique you that you are. You know, something I'm paraphrasing, but I really liked what that meant. You know, like we're celebrating all the little things that make you different from the other person. It's not necessarily like we're trying to be mean, you know, but you know, and it's not exactly like the most innocent thing either, but it's somewhere in the middle, like, you know, because like I know, especially when I'm getting drawn and I go to like a, you know, an ISCA conference where there's like over 150 different character artists from different, like 12 different countries, and we're all just going to be drawing each other. I know that they're going to like, there's certain things on my face, like, you know, my teeth or whatever, that I know they're gonna like see because I see it, and if I see it with, I know they see it. And then if it's a like competition, like a conference where we're all like friendly competing against each other, my God, you know, it's no holds bar. So like, but I'm comfortable with that. Like you know, maybe here or there I'll be like, oh man, they saw that, but like even to that extent, I think it's important to. It helps with the mental health of like how you perceive yourself, and like, or it should rather, like, you know, let's not take it all super seriously, like, you know, you know, for years I had my own like body issues and such, and I can still have them every so often, but like, you know, I've learned also to celebrate different things about myself, and so it's changing the language about how you talk with yourself in your head and all that. But all that being said, when people get drawn by a caricaturist, they come. Some people come and they're really defensive. They're like, "Please don't draw me ugly. Don't draw my nose big." But I'm like, "Come on, look." And I have to, and I'll share that with them. Look, I've drawn myself, and I'll point out everything to you right now that I'm uncomfortable with. Like, you know, I have I have these like uneven teeth. I have this with my nose, and I'll point out things to myself just to like try to help them become more comfortable. Like, you know, with the whole thing, and just really with the idea that we're celebrating you, like, and like for other characters, when other characters draw you, it's such an honor to be drawn by another characterist, because that means like, well, first of all, that we're probably friends, and or they like your work, or it's like a level of respect when you're drawn by another characterist, and so it's an honor. And so I love to see when people make me look one way or the other, or what they explore and stuff, and that they took the time to stare at my face, you know, and they stared at it for a while to make whatever, like, um yeah. And it's such an interesting thing too, to like, you know, to see different influences from different character artists, like character artists here, like in the States, you know, they're going to draw more like Mad TV, Mad Magazine character style. People like based in Germany are going to draw a little more one way or the other, or like European caricatures, or a little more portraity, or like my friends in Japan, there's like a more of an anime manga influence to the way they draw like some of their shapes, and how they do their answers for how they draw eyeballs, or how they, you know, different answers for the chin or the nose. Like, it's so fascinating for me, like, to see, you know, especially if everybody draws one face, the different interpretations and the different answers people came to when they were drawing that face and figuring out what they wanted to do with it. So.
What have been some of your experiences with ISCA? Have you gotten to go to a lot of those conventions they hold?
Yeah, so yeah, I've been a member since 2020. I've gone to three of them in person. The first one I went to in person was it was in Florida, and I'm trying to remember where exactly in Florida it was. It might have been Tallahassee. But it was 2 or 3 years ago, and then I went last year, and I wasn't competing last year. Last year, I just went to say hi. I went for like the ISCA Con is I think it's 5 days: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 days. It's 6 days long every year, in November, and yeah, the first time I went, like I was just telling that to my roommate, who's also an artist, that it's just this unbelievable experience that it's so hard to put into words. Like for years, I had been told by another caricaturist friend of mine here in Austin about the greatness of like being in ISCA and like going to this ISCA con. And I had a lot of like, confidence issues of like, oh, I'm not good enough. I got to be at a certain level. But the irony is I went like I thought I was prepared, and like, oh my God, I'm still not prepared at all. But it didn't really matter. That's not the answer. Like you should go at every level should go to something like this. There's not that many things that like this that exist in the world as far as like we
That's
meet
true.
just that we meet for the celebration of caricature, for this the celebration of the art of caricature, and like we're just there to like talk about just hang out with each other, like caricaturists in general. There's not many of us, like a decent amount of us, but as far as like us hanging out like here in Austin, there's probably like a good like five of us maybe, and I'm on the younger end of it. The other ones, a couple of them have retired already, and like
Wow.
and that's crazy to me. So like before ISCA, I was like, I only know these like five other characterists. There's no other characterists. And then you go to ISCA and you meet like, some artists from like, yeah, Japan, from Germany, from Belgium, and you're like, holy crap, But even at that, there's only so many of them. And there's only so many to like the extent of when they show up, the specific characteristics are going to be coming from Germany, more or less. And the specific characteristics are going to come from Japan. And then of course there's a bunch of unregistered ones as far as like they haven't joined it like any affiliates or any kind of like organization, but yeah, it's still a smaller number. And so I really appreciate, and especially like joining ISCA definitely was something that really helped me out and really helped me grow. And so even like without just pushing ISCA, if any artist can join any kind of like group where there's other artists, that like you can help. I would recommend doing it because it just helps you grow, seeing other people's styles, seeing that not only like seeing your heroes online and such, but like interacting with other artists that are your age or working and doing the same thing you're doing. It really helps to open your eyes to all the possibilities of like what you can do with your work, and even just appreciating what they're doing. Like we're all working on trying to achieve certain goals, and seeing these other artists doing that in different ways is such a neat thing, and it really, for me, provides a lot of motivation to keep studying and doing the things that I'm doing. So yeah, it was definitely one of the better decisions joining that group, joining ISCA, and then going to the conventions. It's something I look forward to every year, like having 3 days of this 6 day venture where we're all just creating artwork in a ballroom together. Like there's no other energy like that in the world, where you're just like all these artists are just sitting in this ballroom, and then some people don't even go to sleep for most of it. Like I remember the first year, because everyone's just as competitive as you are, if not more, which is scary, because all of us are competitive individuals. And the great thing is, like, there's no monetary awards on this thing. It's literally just, the work's judged after 3 days. We put it up on a wall. We all get some wall space, and then we're given like the nosies. The ultimate trophy is this giant nose trophy that's everybody wants. And that's all, but that's all you get. There's nothing else. You get the recognition of your peers. The recognition and admiration from your peers is what we strive for, and that's all it is. And then we go back to living this really weird, like lone wolf career. Like I think that show I mentioned with my friends Stieglitz and Marcio of Messy Fields, they're talking about that. Like a lot of times, you're hired for a gig, and it's usually like you're the lone caricaturist, and then there's like a photographer and there's a DJ, and then you're just dealing with the event by yourself, and then you pack up and you're done for the day. When you can work a gig and there's other characters there, my God, it's the there's been a couple like weddings and events where I didn't know other characters were going to be working, and then you get there and they're there, and it just feels like a kind of a Avengers Assemble type of thing where like all the superheroes have united for a common cause, and now we're all going to draw people at this wedding together, and it's too big of a wedding for like one person to handle alone, let alone two. But now there's four of us character artists, where we will do good, that kind of thing. And then the gig's done, and nobody wants to hang out. We're all like slightly introverted, so we're all like, all right, see you again in 8 months, maybe. Like
That's funny.
it's a weird living, but I really wouldn't have it any other way. Artist kind in general, we're a very weird lot, but I really appreciate and celebrate that weirdness, and I feel like caricaturing is such a great art that kind of helps to celebrate that. And I would recommend any illustrator in general just to try a stint for a minute as a caricaturist, because like I always, especially like younger artists, I'll tell that to them as well, is that you learn about the business of just art in general through caricature, because you're there working a stand, you're creating something that someone's like is going to look at and judge. They're paying you money for that piece of work, and then sometimes you got to defend your work. Like if someone doesn't like your work, and you got to be callous about it too. Where if someone doesn't like it, or if they don't want to pay for it, which can happen like in a county fair situation, then you kind of have to just deal with it. But you learn how to deal with it, and you kind of learn to get through the emotional parts of it, and like you start seeing more of the objective and the financial parts of it, of the business of doing caricatures in different types of situations. And I think it's such an essential bit to, like, if you're going to be a professional artist in any capacity, whether you're going to be a painter or fine art illustrator, what have you, like you learn it all so quickly, drawing somebody in 5 to 7 minutes, and then them giving you the money at a caricature stand. So
It's like busking in a way. It's like a trial by fire, um, that, if any other visual artist who's not doing characters, I don't know if there are any other trial by fire kinds of gigs, in the arts besides caricature,
oh yeah.
that have those kinds of features.
Yeah, well, and that's and I mean, I appreciate that, and I agree with you. I mean, there's like, I've met some, like, when I've worked like weddings, I've met like live event painters and stuff. But the big element that characters have to deal with, that's different, is that you have to deal with interacting with people. Like that's the
Yeah.
big thing. The people are going to react to you automatically. And even then, I mean, so much of the times, every single gig, you're going to have people that already have, they're going to come to you and you're like, "Oh, you guys are the ones that do the silly drawings at the carnivals, right?" And they come with this like they're already on the attack without even being drawn, and they'll come and they'll play threat you, like, "Oh, you better not draw my nose big, you better not do this," and you already have to deal with that energy. And I know for me, like, most artists tend to be more introverted. I definitely had to develop more of a extroverted part of my personality to even do the business, but I think it's healthy to do that, because
I agree.
you need to have that extroverted bit to communicate about your art, to sell your art, to make a business out of it, if that's what your intention is. So if your intention is to be a professional artist, these are essential things that need to be done. And I think doing that through, like, there's some other stuff I'm about to, like, I'm gonna have a gig or a couple gigs coming up in October, where I'm going to be doing more portraity work. And I had the interview with a couple of these artists that had reached out to me, and they were telling me all this stuff where, like, "Oh, you don't have to interact with the people. We take pictures of the people, and then you draw from the pictures, and then we put the drawings on the table, and they pick up the drawing." I was like, "That's brilliant!" Like, you guys don't have to, like, but also, like, I kind of miss that element. But they're more introverted people, and it's a different thing. It's not caricature, no. But it just made me realize how how objective and calloused I've become since I've started this, because and how much I actually, ironically, how much I actually prefer interacting with the people and getting that energy, because like the best thing in the world is when you do a drawing and somebody likes it, and then you're there to witness that, to witness that reaction, because there is a lot of time, as you know, I do that thing of like the reveal, which is the 3 2 1, and you flip the paper for them to see.
Yeah.
But there's micro expressions, and in that micro, like in that half second when they first see it, if they don't like it, you can see it working in the brain that they don't like it, and that they want, but they still want to be polite about it. And I can see the difference between that and the like actual recognition, surprise, and delight in a caricature that people actually appreciate and like. And when I get those that validation and that energy, it's the most rewarding. It's a drug. It's really a drug. Getting that feeling and getting that thing. I mean, a lot of those videos, as far as like reaction videos to caricatures, that's what we're all striving for. And also that in itself is such a weird thing, because you have to kind of be careful with that, and there's no real way to avoid it, as far as like, because when you tell people, hey, can I record this, now people they may be more polite versus now that they know they're going to be on camera, versus like if you just show them the drawing.
True. Yeah.
So sometimes you don't get valid, and those are the ones I won't post, because I can tell really, I can tell really quickly. Oh, they were being polite for the camera, like versus somebody like busting out laughing, and like really, really, you can, yeah, it's the best thing in the world, and really, and that feeling doesn't always, that exchange doesn't always happen. But if you're lucky enough, as you develop a career in it, you might see it more than you did in the beginning. And at this point in my career, I've seen it a lot more than when I initially started. And it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's really something I live for. I really chase that feeling, and it's something I can just, that will exist with me, and that I'll be on a high of for at least like a day or so. So,
Do you have any caricatures of yourself done by other caricaturists who you love that are your favorites? Do you have like a collection of them?
oh, I absolutely do, and I can send those to you after this. They were I was actually the subject of a couple of the character contests like last year, and I think 2 years previous to that, something like that. But there were some amazing caricatures in there. Um, and what's great too is, I was a subject twice for the contest online. And the first time I was a subject, I hadn't met anybody in person yet. Like I had just joined ISCA. I had signed up. You can volunteer to be drawn, and I signed up to be drawn, but no one knew me personally. And then I met a bunch of people, went to a couple of caricature conferences, and then I was the subject again. And so I made a lot of friends, and they included a lot of like they got more of my personality, because then they met me in person, and they understood more of my energy. And I can see it in the work. And so so a lot of those are like, I'm very flattered and honored. There was some artists that I've admired for years, some characters I admired for years, that kind of stepped up and did a couple, and I was so elated when I saw that they actually did some drawings. And yeah, they're very precious to me. I actually, and I'm glad you said that out loud, because it reminded me that I need to print them out and frame them on my wall. And because yeah, it's really a gift. And like I know most characters feel like, I almost want to say all characters feel the same way, because sometimes I'll watch videos of other characters' friends, and I'll see on their walls as well, they have like caricatures of themselves from all their friends and stuff, and I can recognize some of the style and what have you. I'm gonna do a couple more things on this here. uh, let's do the eyes, and then let's do a quick little highlight maybe. There and there. But yeah, here we go. Here's the caricature.
Well, hey.
Here's the picture, and here's the caricature.
I think it's a match.
I appreciate you sitting and getting drawn and volunteering yourself for this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. That's great. This is really fantastic work.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun to approach it this way, where I can just kind of take my time and do a little bit of a study. There was a lot of great things we were doing with the face you made here. I was very happy. playing around with it.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it was my. I appreciate you reaching out. I'm trying to switch the camera here, and maybe I'm not
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
successful. There we go. Let me turn my lights back on. There we go. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, and appreciate all the great conversations. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was great. One last question for you, of course.
Yeah,
Anybody who's interested in like seeing your work, booking you, throwing any kind of opportunities your way, where can people best find you?
lovely. They can find me on Instagram at Jeremy the Artist, Jeremy the Artist, or you can go to my website VivaJTA.com.
All right, I'm gonna throw the links in the description as well.
Awesome, man. I appreciate
So,
that.
yeah, of course, man. It's been great talking to you. I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me, Alex.
All right, well, I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Take care.
See you. Bye.